Oh, they turned the music off. I'm thinking, why did everybody go quiet? I got it. All right. Let's start with the California Clean Energy Authority special meeting. City Clerk.
Authority Member Molly.
Present.
Mann.
Present.
Underwood Jacobs.
Present.
Christ.
Present.
Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. And John Metters from Christian Life Assembly will be doing the invocation.
Amen. Let's pray. Lord, we're thankful that we can come here before you today and make our requests known. Thank you for the city council and each of its members and the blessing they are to our city. I pray your continued wisdom, that you would give it to them. I thank you for the growth of our city, Father, and its young people and all that's going on. I thank you for the award that Fulton and Asbury Academy won. And Lord, I pray your continued blessing upon the children and youth of our city and the schools and the teachers. Lord, bless all those who work for our city. Father, the police officers, the sheriffs, Lord God. And Father, we just thank you for what you're doing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
So, which one of you guys want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? You have a team captain? Okay, why don't you come down? Okay. You can put this on your resume, right? Right up to the microphone. All right?
Okay. Wow. Okay. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, the rest of you, we need the floors cleaned. No, I'm kidding. Okay. New business item 1, staff report.
Mr. Cottle will be giving both staff reports.
Thank you. Do you have any speaker cards on?
I don't know if it's a speaker card for it.
Mayor and Council, it's a pleasure for me to be here again to talk about an innovative approach we're embarking on as it relates to our energy program. Tonight we're asking you to confirm the officers and establishment of orders of business and rules for the California Clean Energy Authority, and also requesting that you change the name to the California Choice Energy Authority. If you recall, a number of years ago, your body formed the California Clean Energy Authority in partnership with San Jacinto to work on some green energy programs that we implemented statewide. So since then, we've used this vehicle to, again, implement some other implementing programs and projects as it relates to our green energy program. And today we're going to be talking about the community choice aggregation proliferation through statewide. A number of years ago, the most recent endeavor is assisting cities in forming community choice aggregation. And what happens is, when we were talking to cities as we launched, we identified that many cities were having difficulty figuring out how to solve this problem. They were coming to us asking us, how do we implement CCA? How do we do it effectively? There are many programs out there that are launching at this rate. Most of them are traditional JPAs that are formed through one vote, one city. And what happens is, a lot of times through these JPAs, you sacrifice your individual autonomy for the greater good of the agency. Many cities didn't want to do that. Excuse me. The JPA that we formed is a hybrid model of the JPA. This allows each city to have their own autonomy in rate setting, program development, and operations. In essence, we're the back office entity that is going to control and operate the CCAs. Their city councils are going to be members that actually will control for their own local entity. We're leveraging our experience, our knowledge, in an effort to accomplish that. So today, do we have the PowerPoint? I'm sorry. So today, you can switch to the next slide. So today, Patty's going to talk about what exactly we're going to be doing on behalf of these cities. In essence, we are the brains of the operation. They are the leadership. What this does for us is, one, it allows us to leverage our scalability So as we purchase more energy, the cost of total energy procurement goes down for everybody. That increases our margin, that increases our revenue. In addition, allows us to utilize other CCAs in our marketplace to benefit the total market as relates to the operation of our CCA. With this, I'm going to turn it over to Patty to talk about the details of the operation, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Jason mentioned, we have the ability to offer a variety of services to cities that are looking at becoming a CCA like Lancaster Choice Energy through the CCEA. We actually offer three individual services: a feasibility support service, implementation support, and operational support services, and I'll go through each of these in a bit more detail. So feasibility support. So one of the first things that a city wants to know is whether or not if they decide to become a CCA, whether or not they will be viable, whether or not they'll be operational after year one. And so one of the first things that we do as the CCEA is we'll develop a financial-based pro forma that basically tells that city detail about whether or not they'll be viable. And we'll also get information from Southern California Edison that gives them more detail about the customers that they'll have in their community. So Southern California Edison will tell us what their customer load will look like, what their customer breakdown looks like, how many residential customers they have versus commercial customers. We will do an analysis based on past rates that SCE has offered their customers and say, in order for you to be competitive as a CCA, you'll have to offer this particular rate to your customers. We'll also look at other information, or we'll look at customized information such as, we'll ask them questions about, what type of energy they're hoping to provide, whether it's 100% green energy, if it's carbon-free, and how that impacts their bottom line. We'll look at things such as, the type of operation that they hope to offer. Do they want to have a full-service program with, lots of staff offering different programs, or do they want to just offer their program and have a few people running that for them? We'll look at different things like that, and we'll put together that financial-based pro forma. We'll discuss the results with the customer and talk about what their viability looks like. They'll have a 3-year outlook to see what their revenue and expenses will look like, and depending on that, we will move forward to the next step, which is the development of an implementation plan. The implementation plan is a requirement of the Public Utilities Commission, and essentially what it is, it's a checklist of things that they require. They want to know about the city that's deciding to offer a CCA. They want to know things such as, what your operation will look like, what type of energy you hope to offer, and just some of the details like that. And so we'll actually develop that for them, submit it to the Public Utilities Commission. We'll also work with them in introducing their city council to the CCA model, and explain it and answer any questions they might have. After we've gone through the feasibility support process and a city has decided to move forward, the next step will be the CCA implementation support. And basically what this is CCEA working with Southern California Edison and with that partner city to walk them through that implementation. And there are a lot of different things that take place during that time period. One of the first things that we have to do is put together service agreements for Southern California Edison, telling them, who the partner city is, who the data manager will be for that particular city, and other details such as, or like that. We'll also at that time help them with their rate setting, with their noticing, which is something that is required by the Public Utilities Commission, noticing their customers twice before they become a customer and then twice after they're a customer. So we'll work through all of those details to finally get that city to launch. Once the city is fully operational, that's when the next phase kicks in. That's the operational support, and Jason spoke a little bit about that. Basically, that's where we partner with that city to purchase power because, purchase power is one idea, but there are other scenarios as well. I like to use the regulatory scenario. So say, for example, the city of Pico Rivera, city of Lancaster. We are both in Southern California Edison territory. It's very likely that we're going to have the same issues related to Southern California Edison. They might be pushing something that may not be good for the CCAs. We'll all have the same, we'll be in agreement that that is not a good thing for the CCAs and may not allow us to continue being a viable program. And so instead of each of us individually contracting with an attorney to follow a proceeding and to speak on our behalf and to do all the work that's required to fight against that particular charge, we'll partner together and leverage all of our support, and we'll be able to reduce all of our costs because we're now using that same attorney to speak on all of our behalf instead of just having each of us individually contract those services. These are some of the cities that we're currently working with or that we have made or have had some outreach with. The city of Hermosa Beach was actually the first city that we worked with. We actually put together a feasibility or a pro forma for them as well as their implementation plan, which was submitted to the Public Utilities Commission on their behalf. It was approved. City of Pico Rivera, City of San Jacinto, we submitted implementation plans for both of those cities at the end of last year. We're waiting to get certification by the Public Utilities Commission. We've met with the City of Santa Monica, Culver City. They're very intrigued by the CCA model and are looking at that as an option for them. And City of Upland, we're meeting with shortly, as well as the City of Rancho Mirage, which I'll share some information on that city. In addition to these cities, we've also met with a variety of different groups. We met recently with, or actually Jason presented to the League of California Cities, their city manager, Orange County group, to discuss the CCA model. They were intrigued by that. We've also spoken to the Working Advisory Committee. It's a group of cities in the Santa Barbara area who are exploring the CCA model. Again, they were very intrigued by the CCEA JPA format that we've created. And in terms of our timeline, we have two cities that are moving forward and that we're working with them through that process. City of Pico Rivera, City of San Jacinto, they've both branded their programs. Pico Rivera will be Pico Rivera Innovative Municipal Energy. And an interesting story with that city, they got their city, their staff involved, and they actually created that name for their organization. They're very excited to get started or get launched later this year. San Jacinto Power, same thing. We're working with them to get launched later this year. And right now we're in that implementation phase where we're working with them through all the different requirements that Southern California Edison and the PUC have. City of Rancho Mirage, that's another city that will get launched next year, early next year. They were actually working with they were working with a consulting group and weren't happy with the results that they were getting, didn't feel like they were getting the support that they needed, and had really a good team to give them good information. So they reached out to CCEA and they've asked us to put together a pro forma and to work with them on their implementation plan. So as you can see, we're making some really good progress with the CCEA. We're very excited every time that we speak to a group or a city. They're very excited about the opportunity, and they're intrigued by what we're able to offer.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any questions?
I have a couple. The city of Lancaster loaned Lancaster Choice Energy money to get started. Will these others have the same requirement?
Yeah, the structure is going to be the same. They will run their own individual budgets and operations. So as they cash flow and their cash flow needs become available, they will use their city to provide that cash flow as well. The pro forma that we're presenting is usually cash flow neutral in the first year. So we anticipate that they can loan the money, as we did, or they can pay it off as they go. That's going to be the city's choice because it is, in essence, their CCA. We're operating it on their behalf.
And how does the default work
Default.
if there was a city that defaulted?
Okay. The way we have our organization structured, and this is what's really key about what we're doing here, is that there's a lockbox setting that we've created as Lancaster. So we have an escrow account, is probably the best way to call it. So what happens is Edison collects the revenue from the energy service, deposits it in this black box. There's an agreement that manages that black box, very similar to an escrow agreement in that it identifies who gets paid off of that black box. The only guarantee that our energy provider has to get paid is the money that's in that black box. As a trade-off, they control that black box as well. So they have visibility to how much energy they're selling. They have visibility to what our default rate is from our customers paying that bill. So in essence, that is the protection to the general fund. We've met with all of our energy suppliers and contractors that are within that black box, and they've all agreed to have that same relationship with every city we partner with. So every city's general fund is protected, our general fund is protected, and the JPA's funds are protected.
Will they each have a separate black box?
They each will have a separate black box and a separate JPA or a separate CCA.
Okay.
And the key there is too, and maybe the comparison is the other models, they don't have their own CCA. Right, we're creating a city's independent CCA that we are operating on their behalf. So it's good and bad. At any moment, they can leave us, right? If they get the wherewithal, or knowledge, experience, whatever it might be. But at the same token, that is the sales point. That is the sales pitch. Council members all over the state, like you guys, are saying, we want to have control of this. We want to do this, and they don't know how to do it. We hope to provide that catalyst to get them to do it.
It's doing a great job.
Yeah, it's fun.
I guess that box is actually a virtual box, right?
It is a virtual box, yeah. It's not a satchel. It's not a satchel. No, it's surprisingly digital.
Just didn't want to be surprised down the road. Good, thank you. Do we have a projection as far as income?
The way we've structured the relationships, or there's a flat fee associated with the cost to every city, which is every city is going to have that same fee. And then the basis of the energy charges are a per kilowatt hour price, right? So in essence, the scaling of the business is, say we're buying 100 megawatts, and these aren't the real numbers. We're buying 100 megawatts of energy. It costs us $1 million. If we buy 150 megawatts of energy, it costs us $1 million. So the total cost of energy will decrease for everybody, and that's where, one, our revenue comes from, and that's what makes it more viable for every city. So it's that partnership and relationship that allows that to happen. Now, from a perspective, San Jacinto and Pico Rivera are probably combined 2/3 of our size. We can procure their energy, right, for the same price as we're procuring our energy collectively. So as it scales, there's going to be more need for staffing, but the revenue scales along with that, and the cost of energy declines along with that. So we're talking millions of dollars.
Thank you.
So are we projecting for the cities that are have some distance between us, the energy has a line loss to it?
That is all accounted for in the pro forma, so that is understood as it relates to the delivery point and where it's being generated, and that's all taken into account, yes. But the really neat opportunity is that as these cities join together, there's mutual opportunities as it relates to generation locally. So Pico Rivera, for example, can have their own local generation that they choose, and we can plug that in for them. But if they had a solar developer in their community that wanted to locate there, they can still do that. They have the autonomy and they have the ability to do that. We would just program that revenue through our procurement strategy and through our forecasting. At the same token, they might want to invest in a project in Lancaster, right? We can do the same strategy and forecasting and programming for that energy as well. It really is the synergy that could be created from this as we get, we've got 6 cities up there that we're talking to now. As this gets rolling, there has an opportunity to be a number of cities that has huge impact in the way local government operates from an energy perspective. It's exciting.
So if we have a long-term contract, for solar energy, and one of those cities want to opt out and go their own way, what's the impact on that?
Right. We have structured in a later item on your agenda, we've structured a form of agreement. Oh, I don't know if Allison wants to jump in if I'm wrong.
Ready at any time.
Okay, go ahead.
We've structured the requirements for the membership in the CCEA that a member is required to remain in the CCEA so long as there are active contracts in place. So if they separately negotiate with the energy provider to take their energy separate from that and take it out of the arrangement with CCEA, then they would be able to leave CCEA. But if there's an active contract in place, they cannot leave. They're required to remain in membership.
What's the average length of contracts?
Well, it depends. We have a 20-year contract with S-Power currently to provide energy, so those are long-term contracts. The regular energy we buy, I shouldn't say regular energy, the bulk amount of the energy we purchase is on a 5-year kind of a rolling contract, and each of those contracts decline in the amount of energy we're buying. So we've structured it so that we're hedging our future opportunities. We're hedging in the low cost of energy, but also creating an opportunity. If it goes down, we can capture that benefit. If it goes up, we've hedged our number. So each of that is declining. That's typically the way we'd set it up for each city.
Is that a set price for 20 years?
Yes.
Why would we do that?
Why would we set the price for 20 years?
Yeah.
To purchase it?
Didn't we set the price at, aren't we paying, 15 cents a kilowatt on certain facilities?
Correct, yeah. The reason we set it at 20 years is because that's the only way the project gets financed, is with long-term financing. We do have some short-term contracts with solar and wind that are kind of already funded, so to speak, but it's traditional that in these long-term contracts that a solar company will ask for a longer term because they need to finance and build that facility and have a guaranteed revenue stream. So if we want to buy solar energy, that is the strategy we use. We do.
Because there's no other solar energy out there?
There is, but you're buying it on the market, right? You're buying it out of the marketplace. So if you want to have local jobs, local job creation, things like that benefit local, that have the energy company benefit your local citizenry, you need to buy local, and those are typically 20 years. We do have very short-term contracts on the renewable energy credits that we procure that are short-term. We don't have to buy those long-term. It's just physical projects that are typically long-term projects.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Paul?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, good evening. I wanted to get up and just thank my city, Jason and Patty, incredible. I'm taking this new class, it's called How to Change the World, and it was derived from a social good summit, and basically they're talking about the tragedy of the commons, game theory paper that was written 40 years ago. It deals mainly with overpopulation, but it deals with all the other environmental impacts that are affecting us. And, I'm just excited to be part of this city and the great work you guys do. We are changing the world here. Just today, there was an executive order that rolled back coal plant emissions, and it's crazy. But we're doing something, and that helps me feel a lot better, and I'm proud of this city and everybody involved. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay, new business. Oh, wait a minute. Do you need a motion for this?
Yes. Can we do that?
You can take up items NB1 and NB2 together if you would like.
Okay, do we need to have a presentation on 2, or can we go with what we got?
It's the same.
Same presentation? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve NB1A, confirm the officers, and B, adopt resolution CCEA 01-14 and NB2.
I second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Thank you. So I have to adjourn the CCEA meeting, right? It's adjourned.
Correct. And then call to order the city council meeting, please.
And call to order the city council meeting. City clerk.
Councilmember Agency Director Authority Member Molly.
Present.
Mann.
I'm present.
Underwood Jacobs.
Present.
Vice Mayor Vice Chairman Christ.
Present.
Mayor Chairman Paris.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, we have some presentations.
In any order you want.
Yeah, just go in the order there.
Okay. The first one, our Finance Director, Pam Statsman, is going to acknowledge the good work of our budget team and the council for responsible budgeting as awarded by the GFOA.
Good evening. As Mark mentioned, I'm happy to inform you that the City of Lancaster has won the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award. This is the first time that we have ever put in and won the award for a biennial budget. The budget period that we're in now covers 2 fiscal years, the current year, 16-17, and then next year, 17-18. So we were a little uncertain when we applied this year, but they do have a whole series of policies that and procedures that they run the budget through, and I'm happy to inform you that we did win the award. They look at areas like with it being a policy document, a financial plan, an operational guide, and a communication device. So while the city manager's office and the finance department take the lead on putting the budget together, it actually takes a whole team to get it to the point where we can present it for adoption and appropriation. So at this time, I'd like to recognize the individuals who help along the process. From administration, we have Toy Chisholm and Melissa Varela. If you're here, please stand. For City Clerk's office, we have Britt Averett. For Development Services, we have Robin Rector and Julie Worrell, who's not here. For the Capital Engineering Division, we have Marissa Diaz, who's the lead there. For Housing and Neighborhood Revitalization, we have Danielle Henry. For Human Resources, we're happy to have Terry Garner with us. For IT, we have Monique Edwards. For Parks, Recreation, and Arts, we have Nicole Jones and Jeff Campbell. For Public Safety, we have Brenda Gamlowski. And then from Finance, we have our former Finance Director, Barbara Boswell, who led the charge to put the biennial budget together. We also have Tammy Holliday, who helped with the assembling the document, and Jessica Haney, who is the administrative assistant for the department and really put the books together. So we just wanted to recognize and thank everyone. We know a lot of hours go into the preparation of the budget, and we're very happy to present you with yet another budget award.
So how do they do? Did you all get in a room and fight over how to divide it up?
Sometimes. No, we like to think of it as working collectively and for the greater good, and no knockdown dragouts, but we like to think that when we present you the budget document that we've put in the best effort to evaluate all the needs and give you a document that you can be proud of to use as a basis for running the city for the next couple of years.
I probably shouldn't comment on this. That always scares them when I do that. We're a city led by women.
They know where the money's at, that's for sure.
Being the talking head I'm happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Because believe me, if it was men, they'd be still fighting over how to divide it up. Okay, Antelope Valley College. We gave you the voters, meaning all of us. We voted them a bunch of money, right?
Yes, sir, and we are very, very appreciative.
A bunch of money, right?
Yes, sir.
And you're going to tell us how you're going to spend it.
Yes, sir. We're going to start with some of that, but first of all, thank you all very much for the opportunity to be here. This is the first time I've addressed the council in the 4 years I've been in the city, and that's my error, and I'll try to always make sure I keep you informed on what we're doing at your college. And I wanted to thank again everybody in the room, everybody in our entire service area. On November 8th, at a 70% certification, we passed a $350 million bond measure. We're going to use that money very effectively to lay the foundation for your college for the next 50 years, at least. Part of the way that we have put that together is we started a year ago, a little over a year ago, about a year and a half ago, of shifting our planning cycles to, particularly with the educational master plan, to a 10-year horizon. And with that, a facilities master plan that's also on a 10-year horizon. The educational master plan drives the facilities plan. Once you determine the programs that you're going to offer, then that curriculum, that program scale drives the facilities that you are required to be able to deliver them. Our service area is 1,943 square miles. It runs from Acton to Little Rock to Rosamond, out towards Antelope Acres and back to Acton. Palmdale and Lancaster, of course, are the center of that, and the main campus is located over at 30th and K here in Lancaster. We do have a center in Palmdale. We are serving a little over 400,000 people in that service area. So it was very important that we go through this plan. We're in our 88th year. As a matter of fact, we're completing our 88th year. We started with 20 students in one classroom on September 10th, 1929. And we are now serving about 15.
Ken was there.
Here, yeah, okay. And did you graduate, Ken? Then we are now serving about 15,000 students per semester. We have an annual unduplicated head count of 18,800. We have 140 acres here in Lancaster, and we have a center in Palmdale. So this plan involves all of that. Of the $350 million, $50 million is going to go to work in long-term fashion. $30 million will be endowed to provide a maintenance and repair and replace fund in perpetuity. So we don't have to ever go back to the taxpayers for money to fix a roof. And we certainly aren't going to be dependent upon what Sacramento decides to send us each year, if anything at all. So we're going to take care of the facilities that you have entrusted to us. The rest of that $50 million will defease some current bond or some current debt, some general lease obligation bonds that we have, the debt payment on the solar panels and those kinds of things in the parking lot. We will pay that, so that will free up the general fund. We sold our first issue last week, March 16th. We sold $150 million in 2 hours. The demand exceeded our availability, which drove down the basis on the interest rate. We saved the taxpayers about $750,000 last week on the first issue because of the drive down on the interest rate. Plus, our bond rating was elevated by Standard & Poor's one notch, and we remained the same with Moody's, which also saved another $750,000 about in interest rates to the taxpayers of our service area. So I'm leading up to telling you what we're going to do with the other $300 million, but we've already saved, before we've swung any hammer or anything, we already saved over the life of the first issue close to $1.5 million, maybe $2 million, depending on how the interest rate goes out. Last spring, we returned $24 million on the previous bond to the taxpayers on refinancing to a lower interest rate. So we're paying attention to what we're doing, and we are always cognizant of our fiduciary responsibility to all of you and to the community, and making sure that we get the best deals for you. Now, part of what we do, our current site at 30th and K is 57 years old. It opened to students in 1960. A lot of those buildings have become unserviceable in many ways. The reason for that is a long story. Part of it is because with the passage of some of the measures in Sacramento and how they have gone about budgeting, we have been dependent upon them for scheduled maintenance. We got it for quite a while, but then all of a sudden they just quit sending it, or they'd send us, and forgive me, I know this sounds like a lot of money, they'd send us $142,000. Well, I can't paint a building for $142,000. So it was very difficult to do the projects on campus that keep the buildings vital. Plus, technologies have changed so much over that 57 years that for us to take advantage of current technologies and bring the buildings up to speed, is cheaper to tear them down and replace with new than it is to try to fix them and bring them up to code and with the new technologies. So we're going to take down the original buildings, many of the original buildings, and we're going to put up some new ones. And this first here, if you can see the this is the layout of what the campus will look like when it's completely built out, and we have several phases that we're going through. We'll be taking down, for those of you who are aware of campus, we'll be taking down the original buildings that were the Student Services Center, the Student Services Building, the lecture hall. We'll be taking down the original library, which is now our Learning Center. We will be taking down LS1, LS2, the Math and Engineering Building, the Tech Ed 1 and Tech Ed 2, and OF, the office building OF 2 and OF 1 will be coming down as well. So that's going to change the campus.
That's the college I went to.
Yes, sir.
You're tearing down my college.
It's going to be a lot better and a lot
You didn't tell me
prettier.
that when you asked me to support this thing.
But we're going to put some great things up in place of it. We're going to move the main entrance of the campus. We're going to move the main entrance of the campus from 30th, or the K entrance off of 30th, to off of 30th at J12 to the center of campus here. So that the campus has grown to the north, and we're going to set it up so that the main entrance will be at about J12 and 30th, coming into the heart of campus. We're going to move the Student Services Building and the Student Center to the center of campus. Then in the the southern location will have instructional buildings, and we'll be putting up some new ones. The arts and humanities portion of our curriculum and our facilities will be to the south portion of the campus. On that site will also be a permanent structure for Soar High School, which will be directly adjacent to a new academic commons, which will be a learning center. And then just to the west of that, along that parking lot, will be a new community center. And the community center will have our boardroom, but it also will house our foundation. In addition to that, we will have meeting space that will seat 750 people in the theater-style seating, but it will also feed 500. And we'll have a kitchen off the back of that to do that, to have a facility available for the community to use as it needs as well. Then going north, we have some of the newer structures on the north side. The Applied Arts building will be renovated. The gymnasium will be renovated, and the gymnasium isn't being renovated for intercollegiate athletics. It's being renovated so that we can support the 3,500 students who take kinesiology classes and health and wellness classes every semester. And the other reason that we're renovating the gymnasium is that we can get 50% of that paid for by the state in matching funds. Then moving north, we're going to create a higher education center where Cal State Bakersfield is now on the northeast corner of the main campus. Cal State Bakersfield will have a permanent building. We also will create a permanent structure for Cal State Long Beach in the engineering program, and we hopefully will be able to attract a couple of more four-year opportunities for all of our students in the Antelope Valley. Those four-year institutions will share services with us, our bookstore, student health, those kinds of things, and food services and those kinds of things in the student services area. And then across from that will be a new career and technical education building that will house most of our career and technical education main laboratories. We will be having things like advanced manufacturing, some of the new state-of-the-art welding labs, some CAD labs, those kinds of things will be in the CTE building in addition to the automotive. We're very, very excited about this plan. It has and we're aggressive. It has right now we have a 10-year build-out timeline. So with the first issuance, we've already got architectural firms on contract. We've been going through RFPs. We've got construction managers on contract. We have issued and pulled all those RFPs. And with the sale of the new bonds, we will actively start planning buildings and whatnot, and we hope to begin with swing space and the initial stages of construction in the next year. And our plan is to be completely built out in 10 years. This plan, along with our educational master plan and the Palmdale Center, which is also part of, we'll be paying off that debt. We have already financed that. That will be paid off with part of the $50 million and is under construction now. That's a $15 million project over on East Palmdale Boulevard. That facility will give us a capacity of 7,000 students in East Palmdale. The main campus will have a capacity of 20 to 22.5, so the college will have a total capacity for students of about 30,000 students, which we are projected to hit somewhere in the mid-2030s.
That's impressive. When do they start construction?
Well, I wish I could give you an exact date. We're hoping next summer that we'll be able to start with some of the new buildings. We are dependent upon DSA, the Department of State Architects, and that's a bureaucracy that is interesting to work with and navigate. We waited 11 full months on completed plans to be reviewed for the Palmdale Center.
But you're currently under construction in the Palmdale Center. Yeah,
we're under construction there, and it's done. And we will open for classes there in the fall. And then we'll be moving this. So the service area will have the capacity to serve 30,000 students.
Are you increasing the capacity of Soar High School?
I'm sorry?
Are you increasing the capacity of Soar High School?
They will have the opportunity to increase if it fits their plan and their model. Right now, they're going to get a two-story building, and we'll share the classrooms upstairs for some of the classes they take from us, but there's no plans, at least in my discussions with the high school district, of increasing that beyond the 400 students that they have.
Okay, thank you.
They will have the capacity if they need it, though.
Mr. Knudsen, I'm just curious, with Long Beach and Bakersfield, the schools, do they share in the expenses with the college to rebuild?
We're going to be their landlord.
Okay, that's curious.
It's going to be our buildings. We will be their landlord.
Okay, thank you.
Is that currently the situation you have with them?
Well, Cal State Bakersfield put up the modulars that they're in now. We lease them the land. That will change as we go to this. The college needs to have access to those buildings. Things change. As we know, the four-year schools have come and gone and moved and shifted and those kinds of things. So it's important for the community college district to own those buildings. And we are offering a four-year degree as well now with airframe manufacturing, and there is legislation being considered in Sacramento to take the sunset off that and allow more than one degree and more than one school. So
What are you doing with those modular buildings?
we're going to use some of them for swing space initially, and then after that, they're not worth a whole lot of money, from that standpoint. But if there is a use for it, we certainly will put it out through surplus, the surplus laws with public agencies and stuff. But we're going to use them for swing space to begin with.
So how long are you going to be under construction?
Our timeline is 10 years. It's pretty aggressive. That means we're tearing down a building and putting up a building every 42 months, but it's staggered. So we've already gone into building plan for the academic commons here, and that once that building's built, then we'll move the people out of the current learning center, which is the original library, and we're going to use the original library for swing space to move people out of the existing student services building into the learning center while we take things down and we start building the new student services building. People want to have a bonfire with the student services building. They don't like it very much on campus.
How come?
It's old and tired, sir.
It's amazing, when I went there, it was in the 70s, so that means it was 10 years old, and I had no appreciation for that I was in a new building, and now it's old.
I'm not going to bite.
Okay, thank you.
Ed, you want to talk about the connecting the two campuses and what you've accomplished with that?
Sure, thank you. With the help of AVTA and really the entire AVTA board and Len and Norm and all the work of everybody on the board have done a great job in redoing some of the bus routes so that travel across the district has dropped from 2.5, 3 hours to 40 minutes, which is huge for our students. And in addition to that, with the Air Quality Board and AVTA and the college, we are providing free bus passes to students every semester. And right now, we've got over 600 students availing themselves of those passes every semester, but that translates to a lot of cars off the street. And it's successful because they're able to move back and forth very quickly. So it's been a tremendous opportunity. It took us a while to get there, but it is working well for our students. That's one of the things that happens to students at the end of the semester. As they start to run out of money, they wouldn't have transportation to get to class. At least this way they can get to class, and we're working on taking care of some of the other things, problems that they have at the end of a semester, food and things like that.
So are you tracking whether or not that improves the completion ratio?
This is our first year. We'll be able to track that certainly as we go forward. This is the first year we've been able to offer it, and we will continue to do so.
Good. Thank you.
Would you like to introduce your board member?
I was going to do that. Joining me tonight is a member of our board, Mr. Lou Stoltz. People always do that to me, and I always on purpose introduce them at the end.
Yeah, I know.
So why do you do that?
He's afraid I'll say something.
I'm just
Again, I'm
wondering
not
if I
going to
should
bite on that. No,
learn something here.
it's about the presentation and the materials and stuff like that, and making sure that the questions are coming to the guy that's got the answers.
That's why he runs the college.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Ed, you've done a great job over there, and thank you for bringing certain problems to us that we can help with, and if you have any more, glad to help.
Thank you. I'm not afraid to ask.
I know.
Good night, thank you.
Okay, so how many of you guys from Fulton are going to go to SOAR? Some of you didn't raise your hand. I think SOAR is the greatest thing Lancaster has. I really do. I think it's by far the best we have to offer the world is SOAR Academy. But others could disagree.
Besides the vice mayor.
You know, we really need more counseling in this.
Yeah, we're used to it.
Okay, Bolton, come on down.
other than being incredibly creative in how they name things. The City Council and I are very proud of the many young people in our community who strive for excellence. Today we are applauding the robotics team from Fulton Alsbury. How do they get that name?
We're named for Fitz Fulton of Air Force and NASA, a pillar of the community. And we're also named for Mike Alsbury, who died in the crash of Spaceship Two.
I see. Okay.
And Paris was taken.
It's a thankless job being there. Earlier this month, these students won the VEX Robotics California State Championship. Now think about it. We win the state in a week, with a week putting it all together. You guys are really incredibly, you must have worked really hard. I mean, really hard. They're on their way to the VEX Robotics World Championship in Louisville, Kentucky from April 20th through the 22nd. So you got it for 2 days? And you're going to take care of them for 2 days? 4 days?
Well, I have parents going too, so thank you.
Oh, good. Okay. Fulton and Alsbury Academy is a new K through 12 academy located here in Lancaster. The academy focuses on engineering and arts, as we all know, since the Antelope Valley is a hotbed of aerospace and innovation. Providing top-tech STEM education is very important for the youth of our region. We are thrilled to see these local students thriving in science and engineering, and I am convinced that one day they will be the driving force behind our region's innovations, so long as they go to SOAR. So on behalf of the City of Lancaster and the entire City Council, congratulations on winning the state championship, and we wish you well the next month. On behalf of the City of Lancaster, and then we have certificates for everybody. No, I think probably what we should do is just have you hand them out.
Okay.
And later.
Okay.
That's good. We'll have a very take a picture. Yeah. And
Parents can come down and take pictures.
right for the shot, we get the tall and back and get them there toward the center. So we can get tall toward the back, and if you could just center right here. You're tall. We want to center right about here. The photographer's right here. Right.
I'm sorry, said you would match what we raise.
I didn't put a limit on it. Okay, stop raising money. Okay, so right here, everybody. And as soon as the staff photographer in the shot will look, the friends and family take shots also. So stay still for a while. Okay, now friends, just stay still, everybody. Top 3 for the nation. We will throw you a party. Any party you'll ever see again. All right?
All right.
Okay, good.
All right.
Have a great time.
Thank
All
you.
right.
I'd like to recognize our board member, Diane Grooms, who's here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to come visit you in a week or two.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Harris.
They're not being very bananas today.
Okay. Now comes the sad part of the meeting, and it is a sad part. Captain, you want to come on up? Captain Nelson has been removed.
That's one way of looking at it, I guess.
Captain Nelson's got promoted, and as a leader, he has shown great strength and diligence, especially in times of hardship, such as the tragedy our community experienced with the murder of Sergeant Steve Owen. On behalf of the City of Lancaster and the entire City Council, I'd like to thank Captain Nelson for his service and unwavering dedication to our city and wish him success in his new position as commander. You know, I've worked with several captains now. Captain Nelson is one of the most honest people I've met. No matter who he's having to look at, when I ask questions, he always answers them, regardless of the impact it has on the people listening. Now, at least on one occasion, that was not only your boss, it was your boss's boss and the sheriff. And they didn't want to hear what you said. It was clear they didn't. But he is unwavering that you ask him a question, he answers it. He took this department at difficult times, through difficult times. And there were times when it was broken, and you held it together without a ripple in the community. You know, it would have been very easy for that to have been reflected in how the community was treated, and that didn't happen. And that didn't happen because of you. And I want you to know we know that and appreciate it. Thank you. So let's get over here. We should all get down here. And, you know, what your husband really did, what really did, that we really appreciate, he made us look good.
You honest?
But there's a good point of this, is we get somebody new. The naming of a new captain is a task the Sheriff's Department does not take lightly, and it's certainly no small feat to select a leader of this caliber, which is why it is with great confidence and pleasure I welcome Captain Todd Weber to Lancaster. Now, you know, the process is really interesting how it works. There's certain people in the department that have to love him, but we've got to love him too. And we never met him before, right? There was a selection process, and we weren't going to replace you easily. You know, we've got something totally unique in this city. And we needed somebody that recognized the innovation that takes place here. We needed somebody who understood that it's the busiest station in the entire county. And even despite that, we're developing new and better ways of keeping our people safe than any other city in the counties, if not the country. And so we were dubious of whoever they were going to send, but we're really looking forward to this. They made a perfect selection, and we're going to work well with them. You're going to like this guy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you have your speech ready? No, I'm kidding. Okay, city manager, any items to be removed?
No, sir.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Second that? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Consent calendar, any items?
We need to remove CC6, CC5, CC2.
Is that it?
I believe so.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the others?
Motion to approve the consent calendar, CC1, CC3, CC4.
I'll second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. CC2. Fran, you're on CC2.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Good evening, Mayor Paris, Vice Mayor Chris, council members, ladies and gentlemen, and staff. My name is Fran Saras. But you know what? I think I might have the wrong, I'm trying to learn how to use a computer. And it's not very easy for me. And I think I was telling Brett, I picked up the wrong date. But anyway, I do have something to bring up about the consent calendar. On your, not the consent, on your, the check register. I notice, well, let me put it to you this way. What do we have to do with Zelda, the lounge that's in Lancaster? Do we own it, or why do we pay their bills?
Because we own it.
We do own it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's where Marvin parties.
When you put up with Rex all day, you got to go somewhere.
Okay, that was basically my question, because I was looking at the register, and I picked that up, and I said, wait a minute, there's too many, and I didn't know that, so that's one of my questions. Okay, thank you very much. You answered my question.
You're welcome, Fran.
And are we making money for the city?
Not yet,
Not yet. Okay.
but it will.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. CC5, what's that?
It's that one.
Michael Reeves, CC5 and 6.
Mayor, council, staff, ladies and gentlemen. My first item I'd like to talk about is CC5. Apparently the city has a climate action plan. I hope that includes the emissions from motor vehicles, because, you know, I'm up at 5:30, I'm driving through town all the time, and the traffic lights are so slow. I spend an inordinate amount of time in traffic, and I wonder if the city could measure the emissions from all the traffic, or have they? Because that is really a problem in the city. I can't understand why the traffic signals are set at 5:30 in the morning, the same as they are at 5:30 at night. We shouldn't have to wait so long in traffic and just waste our gas and create all the emissions for the traffic. The other thing I'd like to comment in on CC6. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we don't need marijuana in this city. We have enough problems. Okay, Proposition 64 was, quote, passed by the majority of the voters. Majority, that doesn't mean the majority of people in California. I wish, and you know, it's not going to happen, but I wish this council would look into filing a suit against the state of California to nullify that election. And Mayor Parris, you wanted to speak before the Supreme Court sometime. This is your chance.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
The Constitution of the United States is supreme. Federal law is supreme. Federal law outlaws marijuana. And soon they're going to crack down on it. Colorado's already looking into classifying it as medical marijuana so they can get by and continue what they're doing. But sooner, we live in a government where the federal government is supreme. We have people in graves that died in the Civil War for that. And federal government, federal law is supreme. So why are the states trying to cash in on this? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher Clark. Item 6, right?
Right, we're discussing CC6?
Yes.
I disagree. I believe that recreational marijuana should be adopted. A lot of people that are against it, you know, you ask them why and they say it's bad, but nobody has a definition of why it's bad. They see all these things about how good it is, how it's helping people, how it's saving lives. It has zero overdoses, all these things that are good, but then when you ask why why it's bad, they say it just is. And, you know, if California voted for it, if everybody wants it, we should allow it. We should try and work with it. Los Angeles just passed Measure M. They're going to implement a regulatory system. The people that live here in Palmdale and Lancaster are just going to go down to L.A., get their marijuana, come back to Lancaster, because most people that use it in their own homes. So they're going to use their gas money and their money just to buy it and come back here. So why not allow them to get it here and keep it here? I just think that if this is where it's going, it's better, especially for business, to jump in early and get ahead of it. And if you guys allow, people to get in, we can, be innovative and we could help and create something. I want to pioneer the industry. You guys have Lancaster Choice Electric. I mean, in the future, I see, greenhouses or warehouses growing, cultivating, powered by solar electricity. I don't want to be in the industry. I want to pioneer it. And we could do that, and we could do it safely, because that's the number one concern out of anybody that has a shop is safe access. That's what was passed in 1996. Proposition 215 was a safe access to marijuana. So every facility just wants people to come in and safely get it if that's what they choose to do. It's their right. Thank you.
Thank you. David Paul?
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, I'm going to get up on CPH1, so I'll be brief. I'm just not a fan of banning things. I'm a fan of personal responsibility, and I just hope in the future, when new insights come, we can change some of these ordinances to reflect the new future. One thing I will say, I remember it was 2012, it was a Republican debate, and Dr. Ron Paul stood up and he asked the crowd of probably 1,000 people in the room, if heroin became legal tomorrow, how many of you would start to use it? And not any hands went up. And that's the same thing. The same people use these substances, and I'm going to talk more at length on the next item about how it's the least harmful mood alterer that people use. So let's see what we do, and I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion on CC2, 5, and 6?
Motion to approve CC2, CC5, CC6.
I'll second.
Let's vote. It's unanimous.
Okay. CPH 1.
Allison, do you want the staff report, sir? Allison will be giving it.
Mr. Mayor, would you open the public hearing, please?
Oh, I have to open the public hearing?
Yes.
Let's continue.
Oh, you had already opened it. My apologies.
Yeah, let's continue.
Before you for consideration is a resolution establishing the fine and penalty amount for violations of Chapter 5.60 of the Municipal Code that you just adopted by your consent calendar action. The structure of the fine that is set forth in the resolution is for violations of 6 or fewer plants, the maximum fine will be the standard fine under the municipal code. For violations involving 6 or more plants, the maximum fine is the $20,000 fine set forth in the medical cannabis cultivation code. So it's measured to deal with this smaller violations versus larger violations. So, are there any questions?
$20,000 for something that they can do?
If they exceed the amount permitted under Proposition 64, yes.
Meaning
Well,
they can't
6
have a
plants,
bale
right?
of it.
Correct.
I'm sorry, what?
Meaning they can't have a bale of it. You know, like, is obviously it's not for personal consumption. Obviously, it would be for somebody doing street retail, selling stuff.
Right. The idea is to capture those growers who are actually engaged in a commercial enterprise as opposed to individual growth, personal growth.
I just find it excessive for us to be doing a municipal fine of $20,000 for anything. I mean, is there anything else that we
Violation of the medical cannabis cultivation ordinance, yes. That's the only one.
It's the only one?
Yeah.
Why is that rational? I mean, and the reason I'm saying it is I just don't see the point in criminalizing people because they don't have any money. You know, $20,000 is something people aren't going to be able to pay in all probability. What's the purpose in it then?
The goal is to ensure that a person who would engage in a commercial cultivation effort that has a probability of generating a great deal of revenue is disincentivized from doing so in violation of our ordinances.
But aren't you describing an operation then over 20 plants, not 6 to 20? Why are 7 plants all of a sudden I don't get it is all.
We could certainly restructure it to set it up for 6 to 20 plants having a different structure than 20 plus, or you could change the cutoff to 20 plants. We've got it set at 6 here, but it's for you to consider and decide, Mr. Mayor and council members.
Well, I just wonder what the thought it was.
The thought process behind it was the differentiation between what is legal under Proposition 64 and what is not.
So
We pegged it at
explain that
what?
to me again.
Sure. Proposition 64 allows an individual to grow 6 plants for a personal grow. Anything more than that is a violation of Proposition 64. So we pegged it at that number based on what is lawful under California law.
And so how much is the fine for that?
Under 6 plants, that's $1,000. Excuse me?
And that's the standard fine that
Yep.
we give out now? And anything over 6 is $20,000?
Yes.
So what happens if they get caught, they get fined the $20,000 and they don't pay it?
Then we can refer it to the DA for enforcement. We have other enforcement mechanisms as well, available to us as well.
What does that mean?
We have the ability to pursue our regular enforcement mechanism using our city prosecutor and/or referring it to the DA if it's a large enough violation.
So is there any reason we couldn't step it up? I mean, 6 to 10 plants is a different fine than 10 to 20?
It is stepped up. The first one is still a large number, 10,000, the first administrative citation, and 20,000 for all subsequent. The idea was, as Allison said, people are going to go through to match our ordinance on medical marijuana. They're going to have to security plans and lots of investment. So this mirrors that. You could certainly step it up even further. You could do the $1,000 fine for the first offense, which I think is what we had contemplated, and 10,000 for the second, and 20,000 for all subsequent, if you wanted to do it that way.
I like that better.
Okay. If you would like, we can continue this public hearing and come back with a revised resolution, or we can craft it here.
My concern is I think we should put more thought into the goal is to keep people from doing certain things.
Mm-hmm.
It is not getting a pound of flesh when they do.
Right.
And sometimes we confuse the two. You know, I'd like to see this designed in such a way that people just obey the law and not end up so hopelessly in debt to the government that there's no way out.
I'm sorry, Mark. I don't
don't want anybody to get the wrong impression I'm getting soft here. I mean, I'm still in favor of flogging, but I just don't like our economic response to crime.
I think the intent was to do the 1,010 and 20, and we can certainly, I'd suggest you continue the public hearing and we bring it back at the next meeting.
Are you okay with that?
No, let's just fix it now.
Yeah, why don't we just put it to rest?
Why can't
May I
we?
sit down with a pen?
Why can't we
Sure.
just make a motion that we have it stair-stepped from 1,000 up to
If
$20,000?
that's not, I mean, that's the city attorney's call. If it's not a material change, if we can do that, that's
No,
fine.
we can do that.
Yeah, this is
You're-
like
we're-
baseball.
The public hearing is noticed for us to adopt a fine structure. So we're fine as far as noticing is concerned, and we can do it. And I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I understand where you want the trigger points to be. 1,000.
Let's just make a motion that we start it.
Wait, before we do the motion, what are people's thoughts about where the trigger should be?
You know, I would like to hear, for clarification on my part, what the options are before us right now.
Sure. What is presented to you is $1,000 for a violation of, violation involving 6 or fewer plants is $1,000. Violations more than 6 plants, 10,000 for a first administrative citation and 20 for a second and each subsequent. So if that's more than 6 plants. So it sounds like the concern is that if you've got one extra plant, should you be getting a fine of $20,000 or $10,000? So I would, it sounds like what the council is considering is a structure of a violation involving 6 or fewer remaining as presented in the staff report, from 6 to 20, some lesser fine than 10,000 for a first offense, and 20 for a second, and then for more than 20 plants, 10,000 for the first citation and 20,000 for the second.
I think I prefer just do it based on the, first offense, second offense, third offense.
Regardless of the number of plants?
Regardless of the number that's over. What I struggle with is, and for some reason I was just thinking about it on the way to the council meeting, is I think we've made a fundamental mistake in this country when we finance cities based upon traffic fines, criminal sanctions of any kind.
Sure.
Because then all of a sudden we start enforcing laws based upon how much money we get.
Mm-hmm.
And this strikes me as an example of that same path. $20,000 for 7 plants, all of a sudden that's an attractive
way to, I mean, it has nothing to do with the crime anymore, and it has more to do with funding us, meaning the city. It just seems to me we should have changed that a long time ago. It shouldn't matter how many tickets we write in the city of Lancaster.
Sure.
But it does, doesn't it?
Some.
It does to a point, but really, we do in this city at least, its compliance is the goal. For example, the fines that we get out of code enforcement, if we decided we wanted to use as a revenue source, you can get a lot more, but most of them is 90% on compliance. I do agree with you on this particular one. I think that our intent, and I'll take the responsibility for this, was we knew the council was against recreational marijuana, and we wanted to put a strong penalty to make sure that was enforced. It probably is a little high, and it seems ridiculous for the 7 to 20.
I want to avoid putting people in the system that we don't need to put in.
Sure.
Because I've never seen anybody go into that system and come out a better person. Yeah, maybe they do. I just haven't seen them. Right?
So what I'm hearing is you want, regardless of number of plants, $1,000 for the first offense, $5,000?
No, over 6.
Right. For the first offense, $5,000.
$5,000 for the second
offense.
The third offense is 10, and the fourth offense can be the 20. That's why we'll send the message that.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously they're not getting it if it takes 4 times.
Okay. All right. So.
Yeah, they kind of deserve it at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, really? Come on, man. And obviously, if it's above that, I think that's a different message. I think it's a message that says, I am commercial. I'm selling stuff on a regular basis.
But I think the real commercial people are going to go where it's legal, like, next door.
So I would request that the resolution be moved with Section 2 being revised to read, for the first violation, $1,000, comma, for the second violation, $5,000, comma, for the third violation, $10,000, and for the fourth and all successive violations, $20,000, period.
Yes.
That works.
Not necessarily for me.
What?
I'm just thinking that the way that it was originally written, as I hear it, I'm also seeing that the behavior will not be tolerated in Lancaster. I think that the original verbiage sends a very strong message of intent by the city and council. However, I will align, but those are my thoughts.
Good. Anybody else? Everybody good? Criminal justice good? Okay.
Need to close the public hearing.
Let's close the public hearing. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion. We adopt.
You have speaker cards, I think.
What?
I think you have speaker cards.
Yeah, we had
No.
one.
No, the last one.
Am I mistaken? I apologize.
Oh, okay. Okay, come on down, David.
PH1. But this is CHP.
He's the only one.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, I had other remarks prepared, but what I'm hearing here is, I appreciate the fact that people want to do right and help people and not have them turn to drugs. I really appreciate that. But there's some loopholes that we're missing by doing this that will just force people the other way, the medical route. And but that's okay. That's what'll happen. I would just like to have people understand that people can grow their own stuff. It takes them 6 months to grow a little bitty plant like this. You get a couple of buds off the top, and if there's some side shoots, it's less than 1/4 of an ounce. You can't use that medically for even 2 weeks. So we're putting a prohibition on people who actually have to use this and can't afford to go somewhere else to buy it. I have this thing I found in a magazine. It says, yet another study suggests medical cannabis could be the solution to the opiate epidemic. We chased the wrong monster. Have you heard of this town in West Virginia, population 4,000, that had 9 million OxyContin tablets delivered to it and dispensed from it in 2 years. That's the problem. These other drugs, we have heroin, we have meth, and I have to tell you that my belief, the reason marijuana is a gateway drug is because it doesn't turn you Jekyll and Hyde, it doesn't make you crazy, it's not as bad as people say, and then people get the idea that they've been lied to about all the other drugs, which are horrible, including alcohol and tobacco. So it's the least harmful thing, and I just don't want our city to be known as a place that hammers people that have a legitimate need and are really doing a service by not using any of the other really harmful drugs. So Mr. Clark could probably take you and show you what a plant produces, and to have a fear of 6 plants and someone's going to, corner the marijuana market, that's just crazy. That's just crazy. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we adopt Resolution 17-15 with the appropriate changes we talked about earlier, meaning the first offense being 1,000, second offense being 5,000, third offense being 10,000, the fourth and subsequent events to be 20,000.
Second that. Let's vote. It's unanimous. PH1.
Open the public hearing. Rex, we want to open the public hearing.
Oh, let's open the public hearing.
Mayor Paris, City Council members, before you is a revision that Alice and I have worked on to the ordinance which established 1704 resolution, which established the surcharge for the operation of medical cannabis cultivation and manufacturing. In adding manufacturing, as staff recommended and council approved, we went back and looked and realized that the surcharge structure did not work for a manufacturing operation. While cultivation tends to be easy to surcharge on a square foot basis, which lots of cities do because it's a large footprint, manufacturing tends to be a high value, very small footprint operation. So what most of the cities that we researched do is they do it on a gross receipts basis. So in looking at about 30 cities, they're all over the map on the number of gross receipts and the percentage. What we narrowed it down to is what region are we in and what are others in our region doing. The big, by far, player in this region is the City of Los Angeles, which does 2% of gross receipts. That's a recommendation. The county, at least as far as we can tell in talking to them and also in looking what's being reported, plans to mirror the City of Los Angeles. So we are recommending to you that we keep the $15 per square foot on medical cannabis cultivation, but change to 3% of gross receipts for medical cannabis manufacturing. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, as would Allison.
Any questions?
I have a question for the city attorney. Originally, I voted no on this, so what's the appropriate response to this? Is it gone through the 30 days? Is it law? Is it an ordinance now?
The 30th day is Thursday, so it is not effective until Thursday. It is your choice whether you choose to vote yes or no on this, but nothing about a vote yes for this changes your vote for with regard to the ordinance.
Okay.
Okay. If I may, for the record, because I'm not a dummy. So it's a protest vote. I just want to make sure people understand. I got you loud and clear. So my intention is to vote yes, but it's a protest vote of yes.
Okay. Thank you. Christopher Clark. No, wait a minute. Shannon McDonald. Thought I'd mix it up a little bit.
I'm Shannon McDonald. I haven't said my credentials in a while, so I guess I will now. Associate's
Are
degree.
you texting while you're speaking?
No, this is where my notes are at. I didn't have any ink. I didn't see my time is running down. Thanks.
All right, start over again.
AA in Administration of Justice, BA in Sociology, MPA in Master's in Public Policy Administration. I came here to speak on behalf, let me just read this. It was exactly pretty much 3 minutes. Deaths occurring from legal substances. Prescription drugs kill more than 33,000 people, killed 33,000 in 2016, including heroin. CDC, 2015. Tobacco products, more than 480,000 annually, including secondhand smoke. Approximately 276,544 men, 201,773 women, according to the CDC. Alcohol kills 88,000 people, aged between 20 and 64. Preventing chronic disease found that nearly 70% of the deaths were from excessive drinking. 70% involved males and 5% involved those younger than 21. Marijuana overdose, 0. Hold on, just give me a second, sorry. I was planning on coming with a PowerPoint, but, okay. Oh, boy. Okay, Israel. I looked up Israel. This is a whole different country, but they're the first, they're probably much the pioneers on...
Some people dispute that.
On their research. They started in the 70s, the first country to isolate THC from CBD. And to explain that, THC is a substance in marijuana that actually creates the high, the thing that makes everyone have the euphoria effect. The CBD actually is the cannabis, I can't pronounce the word, but thank you. That actually is the healing property in the marijuana, and they're the first country that's actually separated the two. The only government in the world who fully supports cannabis research for its people. Cannabis has been shown to kill cancer cells, alleviate PTSD, chronic pain, chemotherapy side effects. Just to make it clear, I'm not here to advocate for recreational marijuana in any way, shape, or form. There was a family that had a daughter in Colorado, 5 years old. She ended up dealing with severe episodes of epilepsy. They couldn't figure out what to do. She's on 12 medications. They finally found someone that would be willing, 2 doctors willing to prescribe her with the cannabis oil. The mother dripped it on her food, gave it to her. She went from 300 seizures a week to 1. Let me see, I got to skip some of this stuff because I just don't have enough time. Parental responsibility, in my opinion, is the same as it is for alcohol, marijuana, alcohol and all the rest. Anyone under 25 should not be smoking it. Like I said, the last couple of meetings I was in, it's not good for their cognitive health or development. Anyone over 25, it tends to work better for them for Alzheimer's and things of that nature. I do have a statement real quick to make. I had to skip a couple. I noticed some pastors in our community, I was kind of disappointed at the way they came at our mayor. I do know that you shared something with us about a brain surgery that you had, and I'm just curious to know, like, how many of those people in the churches are taking prescription medications, drinking alcohol, using any tobacco products at all, and yet using a medical substance that will actually alleviate pain and save lives, that takes 0 lives every year, is somehow demonic or makes you less of a fearing God. I just don't believe that people should be throwing stones if they live in glass houses. That's all. I just wanted to say that. I appreciate your time.
Shannon, if you don't want people to throw stones at you, don't be mayor.
Hey. As soon as you're gone.
Okay, thank you. Christopher Clark.
I like living in the city. I do. And, this is the business that I'm in. And if I can, I would like to do business in the city and help out and give my taxes and, do my fair share, do my part. My question with the cultivation that you guys are going to do, and that's fine that you guys took it from 10 to 5. Anybody get licensed, that'll help them out. But my question is, if you don't allow an exit, like a way to go, for them to sell it. Like, I feel if I'm a cultivator and I walk out my door, now I'm on the black market, and if I have over 6 plants, I could get fined, or if I have like a bushel on me, now I get in trouble. And, that's because I don't have an outlet to do it. I think that if each cultivation warehouse were to have a dispensary set up with it, not only can it have a fair, way for you to get rid of the product that you're growing, you can also tax the dispensary. And it's all in one location, so you can see the seed to sell of the business. And you could stay on top of it a little easier, and it will give people an outlet to make the money that you're going to ask them. The $15 a square foot, I mean, how could you make the money if you can't sell it legally? So I just feel if you're going to do that, especially with medical marijuana, you guys could get a larger tax because it's nonprofit organizations that you allow them to just, have a release, have a way for them to get rid of it to make the $15 a square foot.
Thank you.
Christopher, managing a city is a balancing process, and a lot of people have various deep-seated views about things that are part of that balance. I mean, I think we should just all recognize that, and I think this is a compromise that makes sense.
I understand.
Okay. Thank you. I think that's it. Is there a motion? Any discussion? I'll make the motion. Okay.
I'd like to make the motion to adopt resolution number 17-16.
Second that.
Let's vote. It's unanimous. Okay, new business item 1. Jeff Hogan. Hey, where's Troy?
Toy and Melissa are visiting some facilities that we've been approached about, community service facilities, and they're seeing them in other communities to see how they actually operate.
That's Mark's way of saying it's a secret and he won't tell me right now.
A wise man once told me, "Don't tell me any secrets you don't want out."
That's what I told you.
All right, good evening, Mayor Paris and members of the City Council. Staff's excited to provide the City Council tonight and the public with a Revive 25 update. It's been a little over a year since the last time we came in front of you and updated you on the program. Just a quick reminder for the public that in 2015, under the City Council's leadership, the City Council created and implemented a proactive and preemptive 10-year pavement program where the city has committed to renewing, repairing, replacing every single mile of public roadway within the city limits by the year 2025. That's 1,700 lane miles. This is a big goal. So the phrase, go big or go home, definitely applies here. I'm happy to report tonight, though, that we are off to a fantastic start, and Revive 25 has significant momentum. And that's one of the things that's special about Lancaster. We just don't adopt or start a program and just take our time with it. Our staff is working very hard every day, and it's the biggest priority for them in our department is to implement this for the City Council and the city. This proactive approach will save the city hundreds of millions of dollars by getting to the roadways early to slow deterioration and ultimately extend the life of the roadway, minimizing full roadway replacement. Before I turn it over to Luis Garibay, who's our lead project planner on that, and by the way, he's doing a great job over the last 2 years, I'd like to highlight and acknowledge city staff. Let's see, here we go. One of the things that when we see programs, the faces up here, there's more than just one face to this, more than one group, more than one individual. It's the entire department for development services. It ranges from planning to public works to capital engineering. We have Gabe Navarre as our public works manager and the entire maintenance crew out there working on crack sealing, chip sealing right now, and Marisa Diaz, who's working with her staff on all the capital projects in coordination with Revive 25. So this is definitely a team effort, and it's just more than my face or Mark's face. It's the entire city and its team effort. So I'm going to turn over to Luis, who will dive into the details of what we're doing now, what we have done in the past, and what's anticipated over the next several years.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As Jeff mentioned, I'll be providing an update on the progress of the Revive 25 program. I'll also be sharing a little bit of some of the challenges that we face as we kind of develop the strategy for this and discuss many of the improvements that we made along the way. I'll also be sharing a little bit about what you can kind of expect to see out of the Revive 25 program over the next couple of years. So since the launch of the program back in 2015, we've treated over 200 lane miles of roads throughout the city. Now, this means it's about 17% of our ultimate goal of treating every road in the city of Lancaster by 2025. Now, while we made some good progress, I think more importantly, we made sure early on to evaluate all aspects of our current pavement program and find ways to improve them. And we'll talk about some of those changes later on in the discussion. Now, as we started, one of the most difficult aspects of the program was determining which of the roads would be treated first and the type of road treatment that they would receive. Now, so we kind of created a matrix of the types of projects that we wanted to fill in. Now, we know all the benefits that are associated with investing more in pavement preservation, so that we knew that a majority of our projects and efforts should be focused on those type of road projects. Now, although the percentages aren't always exact, we kind of use this as a starting point for the program. Now, here's where it gets a little more complicated. There's literally dozens of different factors that we need to take into account when determining and selecting road projects. Now, although most people may think that roads are identical, no two road segments share the same characteristics. And the most important of these, of course, is understanding the funding sources and seeing what we have to work with when it comes to that. Now, most people don't realize how complicated road funding could be, so here's kind of a quick breakdown. Now, for every road dollar that the city receives, about 20 cents of it is what we would consider highly restrictive. Now, Prop A funds is probably the best example in this, where the only roads that you can actually use, the only roads that you can actually treat with this type of funding is roads that are literally right in front of a bus stop. Now, another 20% of that dollar is what we would consider limited. Now, while there's some more flexibility in the type of funds that we use, the process involved with getting the necessary approvals in place before we can actually spend that money can actually delay projects up to 18 months. So at the end of the day, we really only have about 60 cents to work with where we can move quickly to treat road projects. Each road funding source has different restrictions, and they can only be used for certain types of projects. So even if the city has $1 million worth of Prop C funds, even if we wanted to go in and fix a neighborhood, we wouldn't be able to use those funds to do so. But we do our best. We try to, and obviously with the help of our finance department, try to match available road fundings with potential road projects to try and create a more sustainable pavement program. And we've been very fortunate. Thanks to Richard Long, Gabe Navarez, and our maintenance crew, we've actually been able to maximize our road funding and do many of those 235 lane miles internally. We've also been a little more strategic about how our capital programs are selected. Now, under the leadership of Marisa Diaz, over the next year, the city is going to be investing an additional $40 million in capital projects that also include some type of road rehabilitation. So together, we're building a better program that by the end of next year will result in the city tripling the number of lane miles that we've treated and helping us get almost halfway to our 2025 goal. Now, those projects, as you can see, are spread out throughout the city and include major thoroughfares, residential areas, and even rural roads throughout the city. After we launched the Revive 25 program, one of our first projects that we took on was 30th Street West, there between Avenue K and Avenue L. Now, in the past, we would have done something called a grind and overlay. In that process, a contractor would come in, mill and grind the first top 6 inches or so of the asphalt, haul it away, bring in new asphalt, hot apply it, and then create a new riding surface. Now, while that kind of a treatment will normally last us about 12 years, it does come at a pretty steep price. We instead opted to go with more of a pavement preservation route and did something called the chip seal. because we knew there would be some substantial advantages. One, we'd be able to do it with our staff. Two, it'd be much cheaper, and we'd be able to complete it much faster. Now, the result is that we were able to finish that project in 6 days at a cost of $120,000. Had we done the grind and overlay route on that same project would have cost over $1 million and taken 4 months to complete. Now, that doesn't even include the 9 months or so of time that it would have taken to design the project before construction could even start. Now, at the end of the day, the riding surfaces aren't the same, but we were able to complete the project much more quickly, and minimize the disruption for the businesses, the schools, and the residents that are in that area. We were also, because we were able to act quickly, we're also able to prevent that road from deteriorating further, which has its benefits. So even if we go back and treat that road 3 or 4 more times over the next 20 years, we still end up saving about $400,000 worth of the project on that project. And that's savings that we were able to immediately reinvest into our roads and treat 39 additional lane miles. Now, as I mentioned earlier, when we first started, we wanted to make sure that, one, we evaluated our existing pavement process, identified the things that needed to be changed, and then made those changes along the way. Now, one of the first things that we're able to do is change that pre-construction design process. Now, about 6 months ago, Council approved a qualified list of engineering firms to help design some of our road projects. With that change, we now have the ability to save 2 to 3 months off the design and planning process of the road. We also changed our project selection process from a year-to-year to a multi-year process. Now, we now know which roads we're going to be treating over the next few years, which means we can start the pre-construction design phase far in advance and maximize our paving window. Normally, paving is done probably between May and September because of the weather. Now, what this means is that we can now start one group of road projects in May and then start a second group of road projects on July 1st when new road funding becomes available. What the program also allows us to do is to better leverage any potential federal or state funding that might come down. So moving forward, we'll now have 2 to 3 years worth of road projects already designed and shovel ready, which means we'll literally have dozens of projects that we can pick from to aggressively go after any potential road funds. The city started hosting coordination meetings with local municipalities and utility companies that have projects that can affect our roads. So at those meetings, we're now able to share future projects and see if there's any potential for collaboration. And one of the biggest goals for us is to avoid situations like this, where the utility company came in, they did their project, they repaved their portion of the road, but then we ended up leaving the rest of it untreated. We now have the ability to better plan our projects to make sure that once the utility company is done, we can go in quickly soon after to repave the road so that the entire road looks like that and less like that. We've done a much better job communicating with the public and reaching out and sharing information about upcoming road projects. Our outreach efforts have also been recognized by both organizations in the state and national level. We recently published our first annual report, which you have in front of you, which highlights progress of the program, future projects, and other information about roads. We recently also changed how we bid certain construction projects. Now, in the past, when we would go into a neighborhood to fix a road, while we were there, it made sense to go in, fix the sidewalks, the gutters, and do the ADA upgrades as needed. The problem is that if there's any delay in the road project, that also meant that there would be delays in the sidewalk projects. This year, we took a different approach. We took all of our sidewalk projects throughout the city and are packaging them into one single bid. And what we hope that's going to do is, one, they'll be completed at a much faster rate, and then two, we'll get a better price because of the size of the project, and also now the contractor can only needs to worry about the concrete side and nothing else of that project. This summer, we're ramping up during our busy season by adding 4 part-time temporary staff to exclusively work on just road projects, because we know that we need to maximize the number of lane miles that we treat each year because of the value and savings that comes from treating a road today as opposed to waiting down the line. We continue to explore new ways to save money and to treat roads. So whether it's recycled asphalt, and now they're using plastic in roads, using permeable pavement in some of our projects, or even solar, we will continue to evaluate different methods and technology that may help our pavement management program. So hopefully you see that we're slowly building a better and more cohesive program, which ultimately means better roads for the entire community. So what's next? Moving forward, in the near future, council should be seeing a design contract for our 2017, 2018, and 2019 pavement management programs. You'll see a bid award for our Summer of Sidewalks project. Staff is also now going to start beginning the evaluation process for our 2020 and 2021 pavement management program. And then, of course, we'll continue to aggressively go after any federal or state funds as they become available. And finally, because I promised my daughter I would, here's a picture of Alex and Chris at the Poppy Fields from this last weekend. Hi, cutie pie. I love you. I'll be home soon. So with that, we encourage everyone to follow the Revive 25 journey at a better road ahead. Thank you for your time, and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions?
Yeah, I do. Does this money include the money for the interchanges that we have from Measure R?
No. So this is in addition. The capital projects are treated separately. The pavement management program is a separate funding source. So we're actually going to be doing, by 2020, when most of those projects will start construction, we'll be accumulating a lot more lane.
So we have like 65 million in interchange
Measure R.
work also that we're doing on top of this.
Yeah, there's a significant investment where we're probably close to over $100 million over the next few years investing in capital projects that'll improve our roads.
And then we're making an agreement at the NCTC for, I think, 23 million, is it, Mark, for the interchange?
Roughly, it's our population share
Yeah.
between 20 and 25, so that's probably
So
close.
is that additional, is that for funding on this, or is that?
I think that's separate. I'll have to...
That would be, go ahead, Jeff, you want?
The funding for the 5 interchanges, we still need a little bit more money, so that will be going towards the 5 interchanges. So the 65 million gets us almost there to completion, but we still need some more money. So
We're going to use that money towards that?
Yes.
Now, does that go out, is it 600 feet from both off-ramps?
Mile.
A mile?
Yeah, mile.
Yeah,
So we can go a mile out? Great. Okay, perfect.
Well, couldn't we do turnabouts? Huh?
Roundabouts?
Yeah.
Roundabouts. Yeah, we're looking at all those. Right now, we're in the planning and design phases of both of those, all the interchanges. So Marisa Diaz is in the planning department. We're all looking at where we can do that. We will do that.
They're not mutually exclusive. There's going to be roundabouts and finishing the interchanges.
Yeah. Roundabouts. All right. So, has anybody looked at the air quality issues of the type of surface we're putting on the streets as opposed to the old surface? You follow me?
Yes, we did. We looked at that through the emulsion that we're putting on.
Me.
We did look at the air quality changes. We got funded by the AVA QMD for some of the emulsion that we put down, the plant that we just built.
Yeah, I'd have to get back. Yeah, I think there was some money there. A few
Yeah,
$100,000.
we built that, and then because of the VOC changes, that we're able to get funding from the AVA QMD.
It's genius. I like that. I've been reading the LA Times about the dangers of living close to a freeway, and I guess because my kids are looking for a house, I want to keep them away from a freeway because it shortens their life like 4 to 6 years. Are we looking at that?
I'd probably defer to the Planning Commission on that. I think it's something to look at when you do land use and zoning where you place homes and such. I don't know if we're specifically looking at that. It's more the use of land use. I think in that study, if I recall, there's so much more activity near freeways in the LA Basin than in other streets. In the Antelope Valley, it's probably a little bit more diffused because our freeway doesn't have the ADT, average daily traffic. but it's a land use issue, and we can certainly have the Planning Commission put emphasis on it if you'd like.
Well, yeah, I would like them to do that. What I don't want to do is create a situation like LA has now. You know, you got people who recognize they're living in a toxic environment, and they don't know what to do about it. It occurred to me as I was driving up from Palmdale and saw the elementary school attached to the freeway. I mean, I don't want us doing that kind of thing, unless we know the science behind it. I mean, if it's safe, I don't care, but if it is not safe, we need to know. So, when can you know?
We can look into it, Mr. Mayor.
We do know, but a lot of it is mitigated with projects that we have. So let's say the Palmdale Power Plant, the roads that are upwind of the Palmdale Power Plant are mitigated and paved, so it becomes a better air quality for that.
Yeah, but that's overall. What I'm talking about is within 500 feet of a freeway, building apartments is what the complaint is in Los Angeles.
Vice Mayor does have a good point. When projects do come in, we do CEQA documents that look at the air quality and the impacts of each project as they come in. So, you know, whether it's Medical Main Street or some other projects that are coming in, different environmental documents will be evaluating that.
But apparently the paradigm has changed. We should be looking at it in a different way. Am I wrong about that?
I understand what you're saying. I think we need to have the Planning Commission look into it. In the LA Basin, they're redeveloping right next to the freeways, and it's massive what's happening there. I'm not sure, that's not happening here now, but the point is well taken about planning for the future, specifically near freeway corridors. I just don't know enough about the impacts of it, but we should have the Planning Commission look at it.
All right, and air quality management, right?
Yeah, we do look at it, and I think that our main pollution doesn't come from the freeway. It comes from South Coast. It comes from
it's actually
the
spillover.
Santa Joaquin Valley that pollutes down into our area, which is 30 or 40%. So,
but what I want to know is, are we endangering people's health if we let them build apartments next to the freeway? Are we endangering their health if we let them build an elementary school next to the freeway? I mean, what is the impact of having high-density living next to freeways? If it's negligible, then it's negligible.
It is not negligible.
It's not?
No.
Then let's make sure we're planning accordingly. Okay, Mr. Boss?
Whatever you say, Mr. Mayor, you know, that...
No, I want you to take the rap, so it has to be whatever
Sure.
you say.
Yeah, I wear it well. Thank you. You know, the point you're raising, and I think if probably the majority of the freeway right-of-way impacts on residential development within our city is minimal, depending on how much of a setback, you know, 500-600 feet, whatever it might be, that mitigates the negative impacts of the internal combustion engine. However, when you look at it broad brush, we may end up having to readdress our general plan land use to take it to the level that you're suggesting, if in fact the science indicates there should be a significant setback. And if that's the case, it would take a general plan revision. So who knows where it'll take us, but we'll look at it.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying I don't want to stay blind. I don't want to be deliberately blind.
Right.
Okay? But my understanding, it's not just the fumes from the car. It's the tires, it's the road surface itself. It's all of that stuff, right? Yeah. Okay. While I got you up here, you know the bike path we just put in on Avenue L or L8? Right?
K8.
When you almost lost your mayor when he was coming home on his bike, the one side is protected so you don't fall into the freeway, but the north side is not. You know, the wind can blow you off your bike into the, I mean, it's really, okay. I mean, I literally had to get off the bike because I was afraid I was going to, just thought I'd bring it up. What?
A lot of people driving by going,
Marvin is terrible tonight.
So why is it everybody thinks that mayors don't have feelings?
Mayor,
All right.
before we move off of this, could I ask a question? Obviously, this is a nice, it's got some good explanations. In lieu of all the rains, is this something that we're going to mail, or are we going to put something into the hands of the citizens here of Lancaster? Because obviously, with the rains, we've got some potholes creeping up because of the water. And I'd clearly like to make everybody aware of, I noticed there's a telephone number in here where somebody could call.
Yeah, and we have hard copies that are available here at City Hall and at the yard. We'd be more than happy to distribute them to whoever we can. We didn't initially plan on mailing them, but we do have available electronically that's easily downloadable online as well.
So could we
We'll
not?
put it on the front page of our website.
Yeah, and maybe the next, I don't know when the next mailing that goes to the households that the city publication, could we not dedicate a couple of pages from this to that and kind of
We have
do
the
a,
editor-in-chief here, Mr. Cabral, so I'm sure he'll do that.
yeah, I just think I just don't want people to get the wrong impression. This is this is a good presentation and this is really good, but I don't want people to think, because again, remember, we're changing their perception and their minds, because historically everybody thought the only way to take care of a road is we're just going to take 4 inches up or 2 inches up off the asphalt and put down new, and that's their perception of the way roads are taken care of.
Yeah, we're trying to do our best to get out there and share that same story and that information, the benefits and all those things. So absolutely, we'll definitely get it out there.
Yeah, people may still recall that the mayor did say if we had to drive on, you remember you said that, Mayor? If we had to drive on dirt roads, we'd do it if we had to protect the city. I just don't want to get the wrong impression that somehow we can't do both.
A.V. Warren Gaines.
You said it.
Okay.
You said it.
I want everybody to watch this.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to, and Council, I wanted to also let you know that just probably a month ago, that we went out there with 3 two-person crews and spent 3 days looking for potholes on all the major arterials. So that was very important for us after the rains, that we went around looking for all of them on the major arterials to try to keep up and reduce claims. So.
Gee, I wonder if you're going to drive down 25th Street West anytime soon.
We'll have to go look at that one. It's every day. The crews say, I just filled that, and the next day, for some reason, came up.
Okay. I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the maintenance services and the public works and the whole development service. Definitely not me. They're the ones out there in the weather, extreme weather, working hard.
Now, if I get blown up into the freeway next time, you won't be doing such a great job. But
It's going to be looked at tomorrow. Don't write it tomorrow.
thanks. In NB2. Wait a minute, do I have a card here for the NB? Brand, did you want to talk on NB1?
Yes, I could.
Okay, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My question is, I didn't know this was I didn't read this part, I didn't get to this part on the agenda, but what I wanted to bring up to Jeff in the committee is that the streets that are going to be redone or whatever, is it going to be done better than what the streets were done the last time? That's just like I call it a paintbrush covering, where they just put the slurry in, or are you going to actually dig into the asphalt and repave the thing and make it flush? Because some of those roads are real, even though they're been recovered, they're real bumpy. And that's one question. I got another one for you. My second one, since you're going to be working on sidewalks, will you be putting into mind about making them a little wider for us disabled people to ride on the sidewalks and not fall on the
Fran,
edge.
you're supposed to ask us, and then we
Oh, I'm
ask them,
sorry.
and then they tell you.
I'm sorry. Well, okay.
I don't know why we do it that way,
Well,
but that's how we're supposed to do
okay,
it.
well, yes, it is, and I'm sorry. I'm into my thing here, but that, yeah, if the sidewalks could be made wider for the handicap power chairs and the wheelchairs, because as I brought up about here,
It's two issues.
right,
On the roads, most of them are going to be like the ones you referred to. And the reason for that is yes, a Rolls-Royce is a much better ride than a Prius, but we can only afford the Prius if we want to do all of them. If we're going to, if we're going to do all the streets, that's our budget. And it's a huge savings, and it's functionally the same. It just doesn't look as pretty, right?
okay.
Okay. As to the sidewalks, now you asked me, and I ask you, and you ask him. Is that how it goes?
Well, I was gonna say, part of it is when they're rebuilt, they have to meet current ADA standards. There are some challenges with widths and what you're doing. I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Jeff.
Yeah, as far as existing sidewalks, we do our best to make sure that there's a clear path. If there's poles or utilities, that we try to relocate those over time. So we do look at that. In general, just a blanket, are we widening all the sidewalks retroactively? No.
No.
But as new development comes in, we do look at the meandering sidewalks and the wider sidewalks for bike paths and things like that. But retroactively, no. But we are looking at the utilities to make sure that you do have a clear path.
Okay, yes, because a couple of times I'm not looking where I'm going. That's my fault.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you very much.
All right, new business 2.
Mayor and Council, at your last council meeting, you approved a large solar project in the vicinity of Antelope Acres, directly adjacent to Antelope Acres. And at that meeting, you directed staff to put together a coordinating committee with the community, experts, the Air Pollution Control District, and other people to make sure that there's a strong line of communication with the community and the development community. So we met last Thursday for our inaugural meeting that will be happening on a regular basis. Of the attendees, or the members of that committee, include Nikki Olofsson with S-Power, Garrett Bean with S-Power, Nancy Sue, I believe, is the permitting person with S-Power. We have Brett Banks with the AVQMD and his staff when necessary and when needed, his inspection staff. We have Mitch Klein with the IBEW, Mary Lou Nelson with the Antelope Valley or Antelope Acres Town Council, Seffi Toman, Julie Scudder, and Jacqueline Ayer, or those three were with the Antelope Valley Town Council, or Antelope Acres Town Council. Jacqueline Ayer is with the Dust Control Group, and then Richard Campbell, who's the AV Resource Conservation District, and Dustbusters, and including city staff being Trevin Barber, myself, and Andrew Noga. A couple of the key feedback that we got is, one, is they want to get involved early in the process. So when they start seeing dust mitigation plans, grading plans, things of that nature, we're going to bring those to this committee early so that they have an opportunity to look at them, discuss them, change mitigation plans, et cetera. It was also important for them to have an open line of communication to the city, and both ways, so that we have the opportunity to communicate with the town council, and they have the opportunity to directly communicate with the city. And importantly, when City Hall is closed, that they have a direct number. So we've set up a line of communication, a direct line with Andrew Noga, who's our emergency operations coordinator. He will be the recipient of the first call, and then we can deliver and remedy some of the issues that they may be facing out there on a regular basis. And that could be a number of different things. It's not just dust. It could be traffic. It could be drainage. It could be a number of different things. So that point of contact being Andrew Noga helps us greatly in the ability to communicate with all aspects of our organization to make sure that the problems get solved. And most importantly, they get involved early in the process. Two, we're asking them to be the eyes and ears during the construction process, so that this committee as well is going to be looking at, if there is a dust problem and if the mitigation measures that were looked at earlier are not working, how do we adjust our mitigation measures to impact the dust? And then lastly, of course, is the ongoing operation of the facility. So once you have a design function, you have a construction function, and then you have an implementation an operation. So even through the operation, we've asked this group to stay on board to make sure that those mitigation measures that are long-term mitigation measures are continued on a long-term basis. So the committee's working well together. I think, we expressed early to them that the conversation isn't about this project not happening or happening, because the council set that vision. The project is going to happen, but we just want to assure that when the project happens, we do it so there's less impact, both health, quality of life, traffic, drainage, any issues that may occur out there, that we get on it quickly. We have Garrett Bean here with S-Power. He's been very accommodating in that process. He's always been very accommodating, and we anticipate that's going to be the same. And the Antelope Town Council folks have been fantastic as well. It's frankly shocking how much people know about dust when you've lived in it all your life. So they're going to be of great value to us, and we hope it works out well.
Any questions? My wife contacted the National Jewish Hospital that does lung disease and asked them about what we should do. And these are the top of the field in the world on the lung problems we have. And what they said was about the only thing we can do is, one, alert people when there's going to be dust, but that it's critical that we do, because they should stay inside. It's not a small thing. Apparently, those dust storms are actually embed not just valley fever, but other bacteria that 10, 15 years from now kill you. It makes sense that we have the highest level of COPD in the county because of our winds, which were here long before you were. We've had this problem. But I don't think we've been addressing it. And I don't think the county has been addressing it. And so it might be falling on us to do that. The other thing they said was to have masks available when you do go out, that it should not be treated as something you put your T-shirt over your nose and think it's okay. It's much more serious than that. We have a lot of employees out there that don't get to go inside. Are we making those masks available to them? We have a school out there, in Del Sur, with I don't know how many hundreds of kids, but I imagine it gets engulfed in dust at times. We need to have a system in place where we notify people on that phone alert and at least give them the option. Say, you should stay inside. If you go out, make sure you wear a mask. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But I think we're obligated, I think, to do that now that we know this. But it's not just an anomaly that occurred that we have so many people with lung disease. There's a reason for it. And I would like the city to address it aggressively and have a plan in place as soon as possible. I'd also like the Sheriff's Department to be aware of this, because your guys are exposed to this, especially when we have those pileups. They at least should know that this is a serious issue. You could, that our apparently we got dirty dirt. No pun intended. All right. So you'll continue with that?
Yes, this is specifically to this issue, and we also have that other action from last council that we will be aggressively addressing.
And apparently the masks from Costco work.
Just at the recent air show, we provided all of our employees, because they're dusty parking lots, and people in the parking lot with those masks, and that was appreciated. So I think that it's a very inexpensive way to provide safety.
We should probably figure out a way to make those masks available to people who want to pick them up, who don't want to or cannot afford them. But I think our priority should be the school districts. All right? Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
We could give out masks with S-Power on them. This is perfect.
You read my mind as a sponsor. Who to sponsor better?
Okay. This works. This is making lemonade out of lemons. Mr. Reeves, I hear you have something to say. You're not running for office again, are you?
Mayor Paris, the council, my concern about that whole project is the radiation. And, I hope the coordinating committee will consider that. I mean, all that radiation, and some of these people that spoke last time said these panels are going to be 80 to 100 feet up from their houses. That's pretty close. And all that radiation is focused in some area. Is that going to be dispersed? Are these people going to be impacted? What's the impact of radiation? I hope that they consider that on the coordinating committee.
We were thinking of giving iodine pills. It's a sophisticated joke, sorry. All right. Thank you. Council reports. Transit Authority.
We did have a work stoppage at AVTA where the drivers did a work stoppage for just the Friday. They did go back to work. We were able to obtain a local attorney to mediate between Transdev and the Teamsters for some type of mediation to get them back to the bargaining table. So that's what we're working on right now.
I heard you got a great lawyer. Is that true?
He's pretty good.
Thank you.
You want me to do the rest of them, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
We did have a TDA Article 8, which is the money that there's transit money that's available to all the cities in Southern California except for Santa Clarita in the AV and Avalon. So the counties decided to give those money as long as we're meeting our transit needs. I was able to chair that meeting for Santa Clarita, AV, and Avalon, and we saw that there was no unmet needs, or it would not affect the transit agencies, so we were able to do that. On the AVA QMD, we're working on some carpools from both cities that allows them to go not only out to Edwards, but to the LA Basin with Teslas, so we're working on that over there. And
say that again.
Right, you heard that right.
Yeah. The AV Fair, we dusted off the plans for the convention center. The convention center that was planned in 2008, we put on the back burner for funding reasons. We're looking at doing that now at the AV Fair, so we're looking at building several buildings out there of, I think it's 40, 30, and 20,000 square feet to complete a complete convention center. So we'll have several 40s, several 20s, and smaller operations. So that's what we're doing. That's all.
Thank you. Any questions? Sanitation District, well, we're still taking care of the sanitation. It's a broad spectrum job being mayor.
It's an all-encompassing report.
Although we're working on, did you know that the sanitation district has water with nutrients in it that is very good for the plants? I've never heard it described that way. Moving on.
But I did hear at I was at that meeting, and there was a lowering of the cost, and that's going to continue to our residents. So I think it's 25 cents less per 100,000.
See how I'm already doing stuff. All right. Thank you. Any council reports? City manager.
Two things. We talked a lot about the future today. Energy, Revive 25, AVC, that was a little bit sad, like the mayor said, about some of the buildings going, but great future. But one of the things the city's doing this year is celebrating our 40th anniversary, and we'll be looking at the past and towards the future. One of the fun things we're going to do at City Hall is Throwback Thursdays. On an occasional Thursday, we'll allow employees to dress in the period of the era, either the first, second, third, or fourth decade. We needed to provide guidance to the employees on appropriate dress. So Lee and Jason went on vacation this summer, and we decided to. That's appropriate work attire, so. So if the public may see dangerous levels of polyester around City Hall occasionally on a Thursday, and Angels flights and dittos for those of you who remember. So just a fun way to celebrate.
No, I remember. You used to look that way, Lee.
I never had a pair of Angel Flight.
Yeah. Lee was very upset. He said all he wore was white T-shirts and 501s, and that was it.
Where was that disco place on Avenue I? What was the?
That was the red
Eye.
Barn, Dick's.
The old Red Barn, Smoke Eye. Yeah.
Smoke Eye.
I could swear I saw you looking just like that in there.
Doing this.
Yeah, weren't you doing this routine? Oh, yeah, we probably should pass up on that.
Yeah, moving on. One of the features we're trying to do, it's been a big goal of the mayor and the city council to attract manufacturing jobs. And one of the reasons that you see the unemployment rate going down so much is large manufacturing jobs, but making a good community for manufacturing. We want to try to promote that with the public, so we're starting a series of Made in Lancaster. This is the first one.
That's genius. Who came up with that?
That would be Joe and Luke and their team. So you can give them
we
a
should
hand.
probably.
It's actually difficult to really see a
We should
manufacturer.
probably start paying Luke a living wage. You know that?
You saw his bike. Look how expensive that bike was.
No excuse for this.
You're not helping your case, Luke. But seriously, if you go on a manufacturing tour for an hour, you really get it. It's hard to put it in 3 minutes, so we tried with Morton Manufacturing, who makes world-class bolts for aerospace. So this is the first edition of Made in Lancaster.
We're not going to have a missile parade, are we?
We're here with Sam Neer, president of Morton Manufacturing. The company moved here 3 years ago with 190 employees, and they now have 220. And Sam tells me they have a new product line coming on.
We do. Let's go see it.
What do you guys make, and what do they go into?
Primarily, it's engine bolts. Primarily, they run into turbine engines for Boeing, for Airbus, for our customers directly, GE, Pratt Whitney, Rolls-Royce. A lot of the hardware that we produce go directly into their engines. And it's something that it requires a lot of certification, a lot of training, a lot of understanding. We had about a 50,000 square foot facility in Santa Clarita. The growth that we've experienced over the many years, it just got to the point where it was just too small.
So how many square feet?
Our new facility is about 100,000 square feet, so we've doubled the size of the facility. Excluding the building, we've added about $7 million worth of capital in the last 3 years. We continue to invest in other programs where you'll see some new major pieces of equipment that are going in as we speak. We have bar that comes in usually about 12-foot lengths, and then we have what we call coils. It's in a softened state and allows it to be formed much easier. The coils are pulled out of the raw material warehouse and they're put onto a rack. In the machine, it gets cut off. Got it. It gets cut off in sections.
So it actually squishes it and expands it?
Exactly.
Amazing.
Exactly.
Then
it goes to the second blow, which ends up doing the 12-point configuration and the transfer.
This is the same process that takes place on the cold headers. Okay. But we call it hot heading. Okay. Because we're moving a lot more material. So what we're going to do is we're going to heat this head up
and we're going to blow it up into something that couldn't be done on a cold header. It has to come through pointing operation. And pointing basically takes the end of the part and puts a point on it to where the end dimension is then set. Now we're into machining.
Machining.
So if the head requires a certain diameter, a certain machining characteristic that we couldn't produce on the cold head or the hot head, we run it through the machining center. This is the 1/4 inch third cell. So now we're grinding. We're grinding. We have a part that's been pointed, cold-headed, and it's been heat treated, and it's been cleaned. You can see the dull surface on it.
So what's she doing?
She'll load a part into the conveyor. It'll look like that. And when it comes out of the grinder, it'll look like that. This one's actually got a step in it.
Yes.
This is where it originally started. Horton grinding started with one machine, and as you can see, we've got about 40 different grinding machines where we actually take the part, make the outside diameter, the TV of the part. This process controls a lot of the characteristics of the thread.
So this is not the final, it still goes to threading.
Oh, it still goes to threading. Threading is the last process.
What's it been like working with the city of Lancaster?
Just been a great relationship to date. We're very pleased with the location, and there's a lot of growth opportunity up here for the aerospace world in the Antelope Valley.
That was really good. Good. Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
So we're changing the banners on the boulevard?
Yeah, we have changed the banners on the boulevard. We've incorporated, at the direction of the mayor and council, highlighting some of the students that we have, whether for academics or athletics, and some of the teams as well, too. So it's actually been very, very well received. It's fun to watch the kids out there, and they actually will go take a picture of their banner. I saw one of the kids take a picture of his own banner, so it's been very cool.
Good. Okay. Heather. Did Heather leave?
Do we want to do the city clerk's announcement?
Mr. Fortson?
City clerk has to do that.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Got ahead of myself.
This is the time to address the City Council, agency, and authority on non-agendized matters. Speaker cards can be found on the back table of the council chambers. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. State law prohibits the City Council from taking action on items not on the agenda, and your matter may be referred to the city manager.
People say that I run these too formally. Is that true? Mr. Fortson.
I reported back in 12/7/2016, reported a hate crime incident that was committed against my family and I. And I contacted the Lancaster Sheriff Department, the substation over there on 170th and off of Avenue O. And they had their mind made up that it wasn't a hate crime before they even viewed any of the evidence. Officer Cruz, he was more interested in my identity. He was grilling me about my name. I gave him my first name, my last name. I gave him my phone number when I contacted him over at the substation. He said he didn't believe it was a hate crime incident, and that I wouldn't be able to make a hate crime or hate incident report. And so I left, and I called the sheriff from the phone. And they said they would send someone out. So he showed up with his partner, and he changed his mind about taking the report, but he misclassified it on purpose. It was someone that used feces, human feces, as a hate crime, as a criminal act against me and my family. And he was 4 feet away from the evidence, which was on property, and deliberately failed to collect proper photographic record evidence. He drove 30 feet away from it and took a picture. You couldn't even see it. And he had his mind already made up that it wasn't a hate crime before he even came to the residence to even view the evidence. And, that's pretty obstructive and negligent on the part of the sheriff department. And I spoke with one of his lieutenants, and they just treated me terrible. It was terrible.
So, initially, I need to tell you is that that's in the county. It's not in the city of Lancaster's.
Okay. Okay. Don't give me that. I'm not in the right place stuff. Okay. Stop cutting me. I'm talking about the Lancaster Sheriff Department. Okay. Okay. Stop cutting me off and don't give me that. I'm in the wrong place stuff. Here. Can I give this to somebody?
No,
just read.
Do you want to listen to me or not?
Every time I come here, you always cut me off, and you want to give me you're in the wrong place stuff. I'm talking about the Lancaster Sheriff Department. Okay. Can I come here and tell you about that? If you don't, I don't want to hear about unincorporated in Lake LA. I don't want to hear that. I'm talking about the Lancaster Sheriff Department.
If you don't let me finish,
what?
You won't know where I'm going.
It doesn't matter, because that's the reason why the Lancaster.
Did you treat the deputy this way?
Let me explain something to you.
I'm trying
Lancaster and Palmdale and Section 8 housing have already been convicted, found guilty of racial discrimination against the Hebrews. What gods do you worship there? The God of the Hebrews? In God we trust? Is the God of the Hebrews, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob? The God of the Israelites? Okay. Look.
Do you want me to help you or not?
I don't care.
Okay,
wait a minute. Let me explain
stop wasting my time.
Stop cutting me off.
Stop wasting my time.
I didn't come here for any special favors. I come here to inform you of the continuous routine practice of discrimination, and how the sheriff department intentionally failed to properly investigate this hate crime incident. Intentionally failed. Labeled it as they're going littering. He drove 30 feet away from the feces and the toilet paper and took the picture of it.
Okay, I got that.
It was terrible.
I got that.
So I just want to every time I come here, you cut me off. You want to give me that.
How many times?
I'm in the wrong place.
How many times do you come here?
The first time I came here, you did me the same way. I'm in the wrong place. I'm not in the wrong place to tell you about this doggone. That's the reason why this keeps going on. Lee Baca was just convicted on 315 for obstruction. That's the whole doggone city. It's a racist city. Okay, it's racist.
That's what you wanted to tell me.
It's Thank a racist. You. No, it's the facts. I got evidence.
All right, good.
Didn't the DOJ found that the city of Lancaster was committed to discrimination against the Hebrews, quote unquote, black people? No.
I'm sorry, I thought you wanted some help. I didn't know you just wanted to rail against me.
I'd like to get
but it's okay.
Here,
people do
read
that.
Read this. Look, this is not a cartoon. Okay, read this.
No, I'm not going to read it.
Okay, I'd like to submit this to the city council.
You don't want our help. What you want to do is just rail against us.
I'm not coming for you. Just perform your required duty. I'm not asking for no special favors. So I like to leave this with somebody.
Leave it with the city attorney. She'll make certain the appropriate personnel get it. Thank you.
You need to make it clear that we don't have a police department, that Lancaster doesn't have a police department.
Oh, I think he understands that. I'm not going to put any more time on it. You guys will take care of it? I'm going to investigate it, find out if there's anything to it. You already have? Okay. Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
Hello, everybody. My name is Juan Jose Rodriguez. I live in 465 26th Street over here in Lancaster. You know, I have a lot of problems with the manager. The manager, this Stacy and Joe, they make a lot of the discrimination. You know, all the time, she said she want to send the immigration. Why? And very soon, she want to put me outside. She told me she want to put me outside with my whole family. I have three kids. You know, I have my wife. You know, they make a lot of stress to me. You know, last year in July, I have a Caesar because Stacy, she sent me like the security. You know, I try to find, I want to find one lawyer. I don't have money for pay to one lawyer, but I talk to a lot of lawyers, and nobody, they want to help it, you know. And very soon.
Is this the trailer park?
I'm not sure which one this is. Is this Lancaster Estates Mobile Home Park?
Lancaster
Okay.
Estate.
Yeah, and
Anybody helping him?
I've been. This is the first I've seen of this gentleman, but I have been working to find a pro bono attorney or attorney to take the issue up on contingency. I haven't had any success yet, but I am still working on it.
Yeah, because you know, very soon she wanna sell in my house. I have 3 kids. I don't have money. I don't have a place I can live. You know,
No,
I can work.
I'm aware of the fact that there is something going on out there that just is not appropriate.
Yeah.
There's just too many complaints for it not to be accurate.
Yeah, but she told me very soon she want to put me outside with my family. I have 3 kids. I don't have a place I can live in. I don't have money.
I want you to talk to the city attorney. The city attorney will see if there's something we can do. I really do want this thing resolved. All right? Thank you.
You know, I pray my Lord. He sent me talk to with you, Paris. You know, but thank you. I hope they can do something for me. Thank you.
I'm just not sure I can win.
Pardon me?
I'm just not sure I can win.
Oh, no.
Thank you. What about Batsa? Batsa.
Pasta?
You know, that law firm everybody hates.
Pasta?
Yeah.
I come from the Basta. They help me, but they don't help me too much.
I see the problem. All right. Thanks. Christopher.
At the last meeting, when I spoke, I gave a dollar amount to what collectively the shops are making out there. I did it as a point to say, you know, that the crime is not going up and the city is getting along out there in Roseman. And the newspaper printed that dollar amount. And I just want to publicly apologize because that wasn't, you know, my intentions to say, you know, what we're doing. And I feel it will bring a target. And my number one goal here was to provide safe access. And I don't want people seeing that number and, you know, looking at us like a target and, you know, potentially jeopardizing, you know, what goes on out there. So, you know, I just want to say I'm sorry for releasing that information.
Thank you. Michael Reeves.
Mayor Perez, council, staff, I'm a regular attendee of meetings at the Antelope Valley Healthcare District Finance Committee and the board meetings. You know, I'm really concerned about whether we're going to have our hospital by the end of the year, but let's assume we are going to have a hospital at the end of the year. I understand that the city next year is going to have a plan for Medical Main Street, 350 acres. That includes the 85 acres by the hospital. And as I go by there right now, there's a lot of vacancies, and we will be in competition with Palmdale and their facility. So I thought about what could we do to be innovative and make us known throughout the world. And I thought when the city comes up with a plan for Medical Main Street, we create a bubble. We create a city enclosed in a bubble where the temperature and the surroundings inside are controlled, where there's new buildings to replace the aging buildings of the hospital. And I think it would be an innovative thing that would make us known throughout the whole world, that we have a healthcare system in the initial 85 acres by the hospital that's enclosed by a bubble with housing, with health care, with amenities, self-supported by solar energy, recycled water, or reclamation plant water. I hope the city would think about something like that. That would put us, would make us known throughout the world. So I hope you will think about it.
Michael, there's just one problem with that.
Yes.
Only one. They would call me Bubble Boy.
Okay.
Okay. Any announcements, City Manager? We've already done it.
Can't follow that, no.
City Clerk?
I said I can't follow that, no.
Any comments from the council? We don't need any comments from the council. Okay. The City Council meeting is adjourned until Tuesday, April 25th, 2017 at 5 p.m. Carol, my day is done and I'm coming home.
I just want to